Hello everyone and welcome to Chess with M&M. Today we will see so beautiful game happened in 1959 between the world champion of 1963 Tigran Petrosian and Paul Keres. And in this game we will know a lot about Petrosian's playing style, and for who doesn't know, Petrosian was called by Iron Tigran for his defensive playing style. So he's one of the most strongest passive and defensive players in the chess history. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Paul Keres with the white pieces and Petrosian with the black pieces. Paul Keres opened the game by e4. King's pawn opening by Keres. c5 by Petrosian, the Sicilian defense. Knight to f3, knight to c6 and d4 by Keres, the open Sicilian. C capture on d4, knight capture on d4 and g6 by Petrosian, the accelerated dragon, and c5 by Keres, the Mirogzi bind in the Sicilian defense. Now the idea by the Mirogzi bind by c4 is controlling the d4 square with the e pawn and not allow the black to push d5 sorry, in the future. So after c4, bishop to g7 by Petrosian, threatening the knight on the d4, so bishop to e3 guarding the knight. Knight to f6, knight to c3, and here Petrosian played a beautiful move in this position, and it is knight to g4. Now the idea by knight to g4, if you capture the knight by the queen capture on g4, then the white is queen, sorry, no longer guarding the d4 square. So basically I can capture the knight on the d4, knight capture on d4, after bishop capture, then the black trade his knight on the g4 with the bishop on the e3, and he got the bishop pair advantage. And also here, if you try to play something like knight capture on c6, then the black here has knight capture on e3, and after knight capture on d1, knight capture on knight capture on d8, knight capture on d1, and here the difference is the white is knight threatening the pawn on the f7 and the pawn on the b7, but the black is knight threatening a piece, and it is the knight on the c3. So something like knight capture on f7 doesn't work because the black has knight capture on c3. Now the white won a pawn, but the black won a piece, and after b capture c3, king capture c3, the white here will be down a piece for a pawn. So for this reason here, after knight capture on d1, you have to capture the knight, rook capture on d1, and then king capture on d8. Now the black cannot castle anymore, but also we are going on to the end game. And in the end game, the king's safety, it doesn't matter. And also the black has the bishop pair advantage. So technically the position is equal. Alright, so for this reason here, after knight to g4, here Paul Keres played a queen capture on g4, and after knight capture on d4, he played queen back to d1, threatening the knight on the d4, knight back to e6 by Petrosian, yeah, and queen to d2. Queen to d2, the idea is playing, preparing to bishop to h6 in the future. d6 by Petrosian and bishop to e2 by Keres. Bishop to d7 by Petrosian, castling on the king side by Keres, castling on the king side by Petrosian, and rook a to c1 by Keres, bringing his rook to the game, and bishop to c6 by Petrosian. And bishop d7, bishop c6 is a typical idea in the Sicilian defense. When you trade your knight on the c6 with the knight, the whitest knight on the d4, then bishop d7, bishop c6 maneuver is a beautiful idea to putting a pressure on the e4 square. So after bishop c6, rook fd1 by Paul Keres, the e4 square guarded by the knight, so there is nothing to worry about until now. But here Petrosian played knight to c5. Now knight to c5. Now I'm threatening the pawn on the e4, so you have to do something. f3 by Paul Keres, guarding the pawn, and a5 by Petrosian. a5 grabbing a space on the queen side. And here Keres played b3. b3 not allow the black to push a4 and grabbing more space on the queen side, and also keeping everything protected on the queen side. So after b3, queen to b6 by Petrosian, the idea is clearing the way for the rook to coming to the c file. Knight to b5 by Keres, developing his knight, and rook to c8, f to c8 by Petrosian, bringing his rook to the game. And here bishop to f1 by Paul Keres. Bishop Keres here playing slowly and developing himself slowly by knight b5 and bishop back to f1. The idea by bishop f1 is guarding the g2 square. So after bishop back to f1 here, Petrosian played queen back to e8, d8, sorry. Queen back to d8. Now we brought the rook to the c file, so let's go away from this dangerously diagonal. So after queen back to d8 here, Keres played queen to f2. Alright, now the idea by queen to f2, and now I'm threatening bishop capture on c5. You cannot capture by the pawn because it's bending with your queen. So here Petrosian played queen to e8. The idea by queen to e8, if you capture the knight, sorry, on the c5, bishop capture on c5, then I have d capture on c5. And after queen capture on c5, now here the black has bishop to h6. Bishop to h6, threatening the rook on the c1. And after something like rook to a1, then here the black has a bishop capture on e4, recapturing his pawn and all with a threat on the queen. So for this season here, after queen to e8, here Paul Keres moved his knight back to c3 and b6 by Petrosian. b6 supporting his c5 knight, rook to c2 by Paul Keres, controlling the second rank and also doubling on the d file and the c file. Maybe it will be a good idea in the future. So after rook to c2, here a queen to f8 by Petrosian. Queen to f8, I want to play bishop to h6 and then trade this bishop with the white dark square bishop and bring my queen to the game. But here Paul Keres played queen to d2, not all of the black to playing bishop to h6. So after queen to d2, bishop d7 by Petrosian and knight to d5 by Keres. Knight to d5, threatening knight capture on b6 to making fork between the rooks. So for this season here, Petrosian played rook a to b8. Rook a to b8, guarding the b6 square, and bishop to g5 by Keres. Bishop to g5, threatening the pawn on the e7. So rook to e8 by Petrosian, guarding the pawn on the e7, and rook to e1 by Keres. And here Petrosian played so beautiful prophylactic idea, and it is rook to b7. The idea by rook to b7, when I move this bishop to the c8 or to the c6 in the future, then this rook will protect the pawn on the e7. So after bishop rook to b7, queen to f2 by Keres, he want to bring his queen to the h4 to putting more pressure on the e7 square. So after rook to b7, bishop to c6 by Petrosian, moving away, opening the way for the rook to protect the e7 square. Queen to h4, putting a pressure, but Petrosian guarded that square before, so there is nothing to worry about. So after queen to h4, here Petrosian played f6. f6, please move your bishop away. Bishop back to e3 and the e6 by Petrosian. e6, kicking all the whitest pieces from the 5th rank. Knight back to c3 by Keres. And rook to d7 by the black. Rook to by Petrosian. Rook to d7, and everything is protected perfectly. So after rook to d7, here Keres played bishop to d4. Bishop to d4, he want to put a pressure on the f5 square maybe. But here Petrosian played f5. f5, grabbing a space on the king side and also offering to trade the bishops. E capture on f5, g capture on f5, and rook to d2. Rook to d2, bishop capture on d4, rook capture on d4, and here Petrosian played rook to g7. Rook to g7. Now the time comes to make our attacks too. Rook to g7. The idea is bending this pawn on the g2 and threatening bishop capture on f3. You cannot capture because your pawn is bending with your king. So here Paul Keres moved his king away from the file. King to h1 and rook to g6 by Petrosian. So beautiful move by Petrosian. Now the idea by rook to g6 is clearing the g7 square for the other rook to coming to the g7 square. Now here, after rook to g7, Paul Keres played rook to d2, and in this position, Petrosian plays so beautiful maneuver by his rook and by rook to d8. Now here Petrosian want to shift his rook to the g7 square. But the problem is, if Petrosian played rook to e7, then the queen no longer guarding the d4, the d6 square. So basically, the white will capture the pawn on the d6, rook capture on d6. So for this season here, you cannot play rook to e7 and then rook to g7. So here, Petrosian played rook to d8. The idea, I will play rook to d7, and then queen to d8, e5, opening the way for this rook to guarding the d6 square, and then I will play rook to g7. And this is what happened in the game. Here, Petrosian, after rook to d8, Paul Keres played rook e to d1, putting more pressure on the d6 square, and Petrosian kept on his plan. Rook to d7, queen to f2 by Paul Keres, and queen to d8. Queen to e3 by Keres, and e5. e5 now, this rook, we open the way for this rook to protect the d6 square, so I can now play rook to g7. So here, after e5, Paul Keres played f4. f4, he want to open some files on the in the game, and also if you capture, example, e capture on f4, I will capture by the queen. Queen capture on f4, putting a pressure on the d6 square by 3 piece, and also threatening queen capture on f5. And then I will develop my rooks on the e file, and the white's position will be good then. But here Petrosian, after f4, he pushed e4. e4, he kept all the files closed on the white by e4, and he didn't open anything. So after e4, here Paul Keres said, okay, let's play knight to e2, and then knight d4, making fork between the bishop and the pawn on the f5. And here Petrosian said, welcome, play knight to e4. Rook d to g7 by Petrosian, and knight to d4 by Keres. Knight to d4, threatening the bishop and the pawn on the f5, so bishop to d7 to guarding the f5 pawn. Now here, after bishop to d7, Paul Keres played a3. a3, he tried to playing something like b4 and making something on the queen side. So after a3, here Petrosian played queen to a8. Maybe it seems like a strange move, but the idea by queen to a8 is developing the queen on the king's diagonal. So if you move, if the white move his queen away, example to the c3 or to the e2 or to the e1, then pushing then e4, e5 push, and then rook capture on g2 will be a nice idea in the future. So for this season here, after queen to a8, here Paul Keres moved his king away from this dangerous diagonal. King to g1 by Paul Keres, and h5 by Petrosian. h5 grabbing a space on the king side. Rook to b1 by Keres, and h4 by Petrosian. h4, not all of this, not all of the white to push something like g3 in the future. Rook b to b2 by Keres, and rook to g4. Now the g2 square get protected by 4 pieces. So keep working on this square. It doesn't work. So for this season here, Petrosian played rook to g4. He wanted to put a pressure on the on another pawns like the f4. So after rook to g4, here Paul Keres played rook to f2, adding more defender for the f4 square. Queen to d8 by Petrosian, and b4 by Keres. b4 threatening the knight on the c5. And here in this position, Petrosian didn't move his knight away, and he played so strong move. Here I want you to pause the video and try to find the move which Petrosian played in this position. It's so beautiful move and so beautiful idea. Try to find the move. If you found the move which Petrosian played in this position, you are so strong player. The move is rook to g3. Rook to g3 is so strong and perfect idea by Petrosian. Now what the idea by rook to g3? The idea here, if you capture h capture on g3, and this is what happened in the game, I will capture by the pawn h capture on g3, threatening your rook. Here Paul Keres played rook. Here Paul Keres played rook to rook f to d2, And then after rook f to d2, here Petrosian played queen to h4. Queen to h4, threatening checkmate on the h2 square. So only move, you have to clear the f1 square for your king. So only move bishop to e2 and then rook to h7 by Petrosian. Rook to h7, threatening checkmate on the h1 square. Now here, the white had to play, white here has to play bishop to h5. And giving the black his piece, which he sacrificed on the g6 square. Why? Because after bishop to h5 and rook capture on h5, then here the white will play king to f1. The idea by queen to f1 now, if you played something like queen to h1, well, doesn't work because I have the e2 square for my king. Now, maybe you didn't understand what I mean, but here, Paul Keres didn't play bishop to e2 and he played king to f1. And if you found this move, you will stand why the white here has to play bishop to h5. Here I want to pause the video a couple of seconds and try to find the move which Petrosian finished this game by. If you found the last move in the game, so congratulations, you are so good player in the tactic. And if you didn't find the move, no problem, you are a good player too. The move is queen capture on f4. Queen capture on f4, and in this position, Paul Keres resigned the game. Now, why Keres resigned the game? Because now the white here has three options. Capturing the queen, and this doesn't work because rook h1 will be a checkmate, and also moving the king to the e1, and this doesn't work too because the white here has a rook to h1 check, and after bishop to f1, queen capture on f1 will be a checkmate. So and here the last option is playing king to g7, but it doesn't work too because queen capture on e3 with check, and after king to f1, queen to g2 will be a checkmate. So for this season here, after queen capture on f4 in this position, Paul Keres designed the game. And for this season, you had to play bishop to h5. Here, example here, alright, on this position, if the white played bishop to h5 and the black captured the rook on the h7, then the white here has king to f1, alright, has king to f1. Now queen capture on h4 doesn't work because after queen capture and rook to h1, now I have the e2 square for my king. So here, but Paul Keres missed that idea and he played king to f1, and after queen capture on f4, he resigned the game. So this is how Petrosian playing the game. Petrosian, for who doesn't know, Petrosian is the world champion of 1963. All right, he took the title from Botvinnik. All right. So yeah, this is the game. Hope you enjoyed the video and learn from it. Please don't forget us by the like and subscribe, and see you in another video.